into Cronkite Sports Live. I'm Braiden alongside Spencer Hardenbergh. And Spencer, there's a big-time buzz around campus, and now a lot of people would say it's because ASU beat Oregon in football this past weekend. But a small group of folks might argue that it's because we're back on the anchor desk.
You know, I would say it is that, but that's not why we're here. We are here to talk about that game. It was one hell of a game, very fun to watch, and we have our very own Carly Mathias with more on that.
It was a maroon monsoon in Tempe Saturday evening as the Arizona State Sun Devils hosted the number 24 Oregon Ducks. Redshirt junior quarterback Manny Wilkins helped get the scoring started early when Wilkins brought the ball home himself to bring the Devils up 7-0. For the rest of the first half, it was a back-and-forth battle. Both teams were quick to respond to each other's scoring. The reason for the Devils' quick responses were due in large to the continued success of Wilkins, who finished the game with 347 passing yards. Wilkins wouldn't take all the credit himself. The quarterback had success from the entire team to back him.
I just see a team that's hungry. I see when I look at Chase Lucas' eyes, I see that dog in him right now. When I look in Nikhil's eyes, I see throw me the ball. When I see Kalen, let me run the ball up the middle. D-Rich as well. Our O-line, they're hungry. They're ready.
Wilkins and sophomore wide receiver Nikhil Harry appeared to be on the same page all night long as Harry finished the game with 170 receiving yards.
ASU didn't just hurt Oregon's defense in the air, they also hurt them on the ground, notching 142 yards rushing against what is considered to be one of the best rush defenses in the Pac12.
The Devils went into the second half up by only 3, but they were quick to score again on Wilkins' second rushing touchdown. Oregon jumped back into the game immediately, scoring on the next drive and making it a 2-possession game. The Ducks continued to close the gap with a 22-yard pass to redshirt junior running back Tony Brooks James. But freshman place kicker Brandon Ruiz had other plans. Ruiz knocked in a field goal to double the ASU lead. A 6-point lead was not big enough for Arizona State, though, as Oregon's sophomore quarterback Justin Herbert snuck in a 4-yard touchdown to give Oregon its first and only lead of the night. The 35-34 score would not hold for very long as Ruiz nailed his third field goal of the game, this one from 41 yards out, and securing an upset victory for the Devils. While individual efforts of Wilkins, Harry, and Ruiz made the game, head coach Todd Graham was impressed by the play of the team as a whole.
Really proud of our football team, really patient, stuck together, come out. It's almost, I don't want to say anything about anybody individually, it's that good a win.
The Sun Devils look to continue their momentum from the 37-35 victory next week when they take on the Stanford Cardinal at 1 p.m. on Saturday. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Carly Mathias.
Now we bring in WCSN football reporter Jack Harris. Jack, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So we had a good game from the Sun Devils, especially on the offensive side of the ball. What did they do to really step up and go blow for blow with this Oregon team?
Yeah, well, I think the big thing coming out of this game is the connection that Manny Wilkins and Nikhil Harry have developed. That's something that they have not had over the last couple of years, having a go-to option on offense. But we saw it in this game against Oregon. First quarter, they had a near the goal line. They had to punch it in. They throw it to Nikhil. Fourth quarter, fourth down conversion. They need to convert. They throw a 50-50 ball to Nikhil, but Manny says those are more like 100% balls because he knows his guy is going to get them. We also saw, Demario Richard, Kalen Balaj, running back duo, really looking strong, getting between the tackles, getting some good yards, over 140 rushing yards for the Sun Devils in the game. And the offensive line looked good. There was some confidence they were building. They're coming together a little bit here in the fourth game of the season, and you're seeing it pay off. He's getting a pocket to throw out of Manny Wilkins's, and it's working. And you put up 37 points on Oregon. It's a big deal and a big win.
Yeah, and it is a two-sided game as good as the offense did. The defense stepped up just the same. I mean, they stopped this guy named Royce Freeman, who's one of the best running backs in the nation. How would they do that?
Well, they were just physical up front. I know it sounds simple, but Oregon is a team that likes to play athletically, likes to play with quickness along the offensive line. They weren't allowed to do that by the ASU front seven because the Sun Devils were just so much more physical. They didn't let Freeman get space, and when he did get in space, they gang tackled him, they got there quick, and they didn't let him explode, and it was key. It led to much better third down defense. This was one of the worst teams in the country when it came to third down defense coming into the game. But and it only 1/3 down conversion for Oregon. That was huge. They put Oregon in obvious passing downs, and they did not let Herbert get comfortable in the pocket. You saw missing throws down the field, and that was, to me, the difference in the game, is that they couldn't find the rhythm in that passing game because of what the defense was doing.
And they definitely stepped up when it mattered most. So now they got the confidence. They got a marquee-type win over Oregon. They go right back to battle this weekend against the Stanford Cardinal away. Jack, what adjustments do they have to make to hang with Stanford?
Well, it's going to be a tough game against Stanford. You know, they're a very physical team. They like to pound the ball inside. They do a lot of what San Diego State did. San Diego State came and they pushed ASU around. So it's going to be interesting to see how much the Sun Devils have grown from that game. There's some quarterback issues with Stanford. They're going back and forth between Keller Christ and KJ Costello. But I think for the Sun Devils, the key thing is they just have to play with that same physicality they did against Oregon. If they do that, I think they'll have more success stopping a very dynamic Stanford rushing attack and maybe have a chance to win, especially with how well the offense is playing right now. They're going to be able to score enough points, and if the defense can come through again, could be a 2-0 start in Pac-12 play. And I don't think anybody was expecting us sitting here being able to say that right now.
I know I certainly wasn't. Jack Harris, ladies and gentlemen, you can check out all of his excellent content on cronkitesports.com. Jack, thanks for joining us.
Now over to ASU Men's Basketball, where the Devils are just over a month away from starting year 3 of the Bobby Hurley era. The official schedule for the Maroon and Gold was released this past week, and the excitement is starting to build for a team that looks to be Hurley's best yet. ASU's schedule will feature 9 teams that played in last year's NCAA tournament, including a marquee matchup on the road against Kansas in early December. The season officially tips off on November 10th against Idaho State.
Now over to Lynx. Coming off an NCAA national championship victory, the Arizona State women's golf team has some big expectations to live up to. They were honored for their championship on Saturday night at halftime during the football game, but they have far bigger aspirations than that as they set out to go win back-to-back and take yet another national championship. The Sun Devils certainly have the talent to do so. They finished 3rd last week at the Mason Rudolph Women's Invitational behind top 10 finishes from Linnea Strom and Roberta Leedy. They are now preparing for the Windy City Collegiate Classic in Illinois, which will tee off on October 2nd.
Arizona State Soccer took the field in conference play for their first time on Friday, beating Oregon State 2-1. The win marks the first time ASU has started Pac-12 play with a win since 2013. To get more on the win and the soccer team as a whole, we welcome in Liesl Babica. And Liesl, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Braiden.
All right, so the big question for ASU was that offense against Oregon State. It was a tied first half, scoreless at 0. And then in the second half, the offense produced 2 goals. So what did they do so well in that second half?
Well, Oregon State has not let up that many goals this season, so ASU was able to break down their defense in the second half. That first goal, ASU pulled the outside backs of Oregon State out to the side, so there was a big gap between the outside back and the center defender. So Gemma Perfield was able to enter that area, receive the ball, take a turn, and shoot, and she scored that goal. The second one with Christina Edwards, that was miscommunication with Oregon State. They just kind of lost players there, but she was able to get that shut off real quick, and so went in.
So 2 goals for ASU. One might have come because of luck, but they'll definitely take that. Now we'll move over to defense, where they only gave up 3 corner kicks the entire game to Oregon State, a huge improvement from what we've seen in the past. What were they doing well on that side of the ball?
Well, honestly, it's just composure. That's what it comes down to. Instead of just kicking the ball out, they were able to connect the passes and get out of the zone, and that was just the key there. And it's great. The past 3 games, they've only had 9 corner kicks, and that's phenomenal, a huge difference from what they had at the beginning of the season.
So obviously now they're 1-0, a huge positive start, but moving forward, what do they have to do in order to win these games against powerhouse teams in the Pac-12?
Well, bringing back to the corner kicks and free kicks at that point, you know, Pac-12 teams, they will capitalize on those. They have U.S. development players, they have Olympic players on those rosters. They will score on those if you give them the opportunity. ASU also needs to break down those defenses. Olive Jones and Jasmine Mater need to break down the defense if they want to score any goals for this ASU offense. Thirdly, they really need to get those 50-50 balls in the air. They need to win those. Pac-12 teams will eat those mistakes up alive. And finally, ASU needs to conclude the game without letting the team score any goals. And I think that's super important because in Oregon State, there was a goal scored with 10 minutes left in the game, so they need to finish it off.
All right, simple keys from Liesl there. Thank you so much, as always. Now ASU soccer will take the pitch again this weekend when they take on Cal and Stanford. Now we will move over to volleyball. We'll throw it over to our WCSN volleyball coverage team with a recap on the 2 games this weekend against Arizona and Washington.
We're here at the Wells Fargo Arena. Arizona State just lost in 5 sets to number 7 Washington following their game on Thursday, lost to the Arizona Wildcats. I have Mason Kern, Alex Gall here to answer a few questions. Mason, to start off, what impact of the Washington defense led them to the ability to take home this game?
Well, I think Washington, they're obviously nationally ranked. They're a very good team. They're a big team, and Arizona State isn't really too used to that. They took the first 2 sets in today's game, and that gave them a lot of confidence. The setters were linking up with the middle blockers very well, but for a longer period of time, once it gets to 5 sets, Washington just has that ability. They're playoff tested. They obviously lost in the Elite 8 last year to Nebraska, but they have the ability to close out games, and their defense is one of the main components. As they say, defense wins championships. So they did obviously take the game today, and they'll be a team to contend with in the near future.
All right, and on to Okaro. She had the 30 kills today. What do you see in her future?
Yeah, well, first of all, the 30 kills today ties a single game record for ASU. Macy Gardner, who's now an assistant coach for Arizona State, did that a few years back. But looking forward, she didn't really have a very good game on Thursday versus Arizona, but it was really good to see her rebound with the 30 kills today. She had a lot more velocity behind all of her spikes today. I think it was really important for her to get back on the right track, and it definitely bodes well for the future of this conference season.
Right, and we mentioned the outcome wasn't so good against Arizona on Thursday. So what improvements do you see from then to now?
Well, on Thursday, they obviously got swept by their rival Arizona. I think Washington's a better team, and for them to come out and take the first 2 sets tonight, it was really impressive for them. I think their setting and their passing was the main difference. They got a lot better. As head coach Sonia Tomasevich said last week on Thursday, that they were not setting nor passing very well at all. Tonight, they passed 65% in those first 2 sets. That's really where they were able to, the reason why they were able to take those first 2 sets. So it bodes well for the future, and I think if they continue that, then they should be a team that's going to be really scary in the future.
And speaking on the first 2 wins, this is going to give the ladies some confidence despite the loss. What is this doing for them?
Yeah, well, I think it speaks to how young this team is. They come out, it's very common to see a young team go out. They take the first 2 sets, but they can't close out. We saw something similar on Thursday when they were hung with Arizona for the entirety of that first set, almost won it, and then they faltered in the following sets. I think it just speaks about how young this team is because they only really have 2 seniors in Okaro and Hallie Harker. And I think in the future it's going to be really interesting to see if some of their young players can develop and get better as the season goes on.
All right, awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Catch the ladies next week against Stanford for their 3rd conference game. I'm Emmy Keenan here with Alex Gall, Mason Kern, reporting from the Wells Fargo Arena.
All right, now let's take a dive into the lovely world of Twitter as we welcome in social media guru Andre Sims. Andre, after sifting through everything this week, what do you got for us?
You know, it's been a while since I've been at the social media monitor, but I think I found some gems this week. Not too rusty. Got some Twitter beef for you. Everyone loves that. Some innovation, of course. And just an unfortunate circumstance for an ASU football player and his dog.
All right, I'm excited. Let's get into it.
Let's get it going. Everyone loves innovation. You see it on the shuttles. People are saying it left and right. And you know what? Now you can rock it on your chest. ASU, the 942 crew, giving out the #1 in innovation, 3-peat Dynasty shirt at the ASU volleyball game. And you know what? In a down year for ASU athletics, you got to take what you can get.
Thank you for calling it what it is. It's a dynasty and one of the best ever. So that is a great shirt, and I wish I would have gotten my hands on one.
Not MIT, not Stanford.
No.
They can't have those shirts, but
no.
ASU can
just
indeed.
ASU.
And then #2, you got to feel for Mo Chandler here. You know, everyone loves a video with the dogs. You know, it's a great way to get the ladies. It's a great way to just boost the social media presence. But unfortunately for him, this video didn't go as planned. You see the little emoji there. Oh. Dog's a little sick, might have lost his lunch. I'll leave that to you if you want to find the tweet yourself.
Not good.
Yeah, you know, usually, like you said, that usually works out for mostly anything unless the dog throws up on you. That'll make it tough.
Yeah, you know what? He's still an athlete, though. That's more than we can say.
That's more, yeah, he's got that.
That's why we're in suits talking about it right now.
That too, yeah.
#3, though, this is my personal favorite of the 3 that I have. Sparky and Puddles got into it during the football game. It wasn't just a push-up battle on the field. It was a Twitter war as well. Push-up fingers turned to Twitter fingers. Sparky got the last laugh, though, as you see right here. He writes his W's in #4 pencils as well. So, you know, it was dicey there for a while whether or not Sparky was going to come out on top, but lucky for ASU fans, he got the last laugh.
Clearly.
I mean, yeah, it's the first time in 13 years Sparky can say that to Puddle, so he's definitely got to take advantage of it while he's got it.
All right, Andre, great stuff as always. We will now send it over to our very own Ryan Redd, who has this week's Impact segment.
Thanks, fellas. This past week, the Pac-12 Conference announced that it has produced the most U.S. Olympians in Olympic history. According to the study performed by the Pac-12 Conference, which covered both the Summer and Winter Olympics, the Pac-12 has had 1,279 Olympians who attended universities within the conference. That is 45% more than the next closest conference. Stanford is at the top with 289, followed by UCLA with 277, USC with 251, and Cal at 212. Colorado was also on that list in 10th place with 128, and Washington was 12th with 122. The past Summer Olympics in Rio were also kind to Pac-12 athletes, as they won 55 total medals in 12 sports during that time. It is also worth noting that the Pac-12 Conference has combined for the most NCAA titles in history with 501. Without a doubt, the Pac-12 is indeed the Conference of Champions and Olympians. That's all for this week on Impact, guys. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Ryan. Always love a nice Conference of Champions segment, but now it's time for one of my favorite segments of the show. It's very compelling, sometimes competitive as well. It's time for The Way It Is. The way it goes is we ask each other 3 questions, and then our director, Nick, in the studio will decide who had the best answers. All right, so let's get it going. My first question to you is, what, if anything, did Saturday's win do to sway your mind either way about Todd Graham's job security?
Well, he's still on the hot seat. Let's not get that mistaken. It cooled down his seat a little bit, but other than that, it is a long season. This is just one win. They have a ways to go. So ask me at the end of the season, then I can tell you. Now, sticking with this game, this is obviously a big win for ASU. But Oregon really didn't play like they usually play. So was it more Oregon playing poorly or ASU really stepping up to the plate?
I'm going to give the credit to ASU. I thought they did a fantastic job blitzing Justin Herbert, Oregon's quarterback, at very opportune times, and Herbert didn't respond well to that. And then obviously the offense was incredible with Manny Wilkins, N'Keal Harry and company. They did a great job. All right, so moving from football now over to volleyball. They couldn't quite pull off the upset against number 7 Stanford, but should they take a moral victory from their performance?
I mean, these guys are all competitors. All they want to do is win. You know, in sports, there's really no such thing as a moral victory. You know, they can go home with their heads held high, but especially when they were that close to getting the upset, it is a loss that definitely stings for them. Now let's send it over to women's soccer. They're 3-1 in their last 4 games, just won their first Pac-12 game. But next week they go to face 8-1 Cal in Berkeley. Braiden, do they get the upset?
Well, they're really hot right now. You said it, 3-1 in their last 4, but it's another level to go play Cal on the road. I don't think this team is quite ready yet to go to that level. No doubt they're improved, and they will have a much better season this year, but they're not quite ready to pull off that upset yet. All right, so then last one to you, last question to you. This one's it's kind of a fun question.
Okay.
So if someone was yelling at you, I'm saying right up in your face, very intense, who would scare you more, Bobby Hurley or Phil Bennett?
It's a tough one. I'm going to have to go with Phil Bennett on this one just because I know from experience my football coaches have scared me a lot more than my basketball coaches. But, you know, that's not to take anything away from you, Bobby Hurley. Look up Phil Bennett. Half the pictures on Google are him screaming at someone. So I'm going to have to go with Phil on that. And now I'm going to send it back on over to you. Now, Blake Barnett, you know, he's been backing up Manny Wilkins. We saw the whole KD Twitter fiasco.
Yes.
Now, if Blake Barnett had a KD-esque fake Twitter account, what would he tweet at Manny Wilkins?
So this is a tough one as well, but I feel like he would say something like, all right, no turnovers, nice, but where are the hurdles, bro?
Exactly.
Where are they at?
You got to find a hole in his game, which really
there was a whole highlight reel of it last year. This year, not so much. So that's what I would say. But now we'll wait for Nick, our producer, to go ahead and decide who got the win here, and I think it's a tough decision. We both did a great job here today.
I want my first win, man.
I know you do. I know. You're hungry for it, but I can't really give it to you. I hope it goes the right way.
Let's see.
So we're waiting for it. It's a tough
It is a tough decision. It was
tough
close.
Decision.
It was a close battle.
Yeah, the questions were very, very good either way. Got the win again. What do you know?
Next week. All
right. We'll see about that. All right. It's time to issue a public service announcement to Sun Devil fans everywhere. It is time to appreciate Manny Wilkins. QB1 for ASU has been stellar in all 4 games this year, but yet it still seems like he's not always appreciated. To those people still doubting Manny, I gotta ask, what more do you want? Wilkins is averaging over 315 yards per game and has thrown 8 touchdowns this season. He is also one of 4 quarterbacks in the country that have not thrown an interception while attempting over 100 passing attempts. Numbers never lie. And what the numbers tell you is that Manny Wilkins has done an incredible job for Arizona State. Will Sun Devil fans ever fully appreciate what he's been doing so far this season? Only time will tell. But in my opinion, that shouldn't even be a question, and that's the way it is.
Now let's dive into top plays. Number 3, we got Gemma Perfield. Puts it in the box to Jasmine Marie Mader. Back to Perfield, and Perfield, top corner, absolutely. First goal of the game. Perfield's been having an incredible season, and now she can just add that one to her resume. Let's look at it again.
Top shelf.
Great pass, top shelf, Perfield, 10 times out of 10, that's hers. Great goal by Perfield.
And a great win by ASU. All right, number 2, we will go to the volleyball court. Aluma Akaro. How about 30 kills in a game against the number 7 team in the country, Washington? Here's a few of them right there. I would not want to be on the other end of that because there's a lot of velo on those kills right there. Very great game against Washington for her.
You don't want to dig any of those out, but it was not good enough to take the number 1 spot. As we're going to give that to Brandon Ruiz. Hit the 41-yard field goal, which would eventually go on to win the game and seal Arizona State's upset victory over Oregon this weekend. Great kick by Ruiz, and for a young guy, I mean, he's definitely stepped up to the plate and has delivered, filled the shoes of Zane Gonzalez for sure.
Right. All right, Spencer, so we have a fun week coming up. We'll see if ASU can pull off another upset on the road at Stanford. But until then, Spencer Hardenbergh, I'm Braiden Bell. We will see you next week on another edition of Cronkite Sports Live.